What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's topic is on fire, major updates, potential controversies, and moves that could completely shift the direction of the Arnold and the Olympia. If you like following the behind-the-scenes side of bodybuilding and want to stay on top of what really matters, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Alright, let's get straight to it. After keeping a lower profile on social media for a while, Lunsford resurfaced, and as always, any move from the reigning Mr. Olympia instantly becomes a headline. Even in the off-season, Derek maintains what very few athletes can: size, density, and a level of conditioning that most competitors only reach close to showtime. He's not the type who blows up or loses control during the off-season. He stays big, full, structured. In his recent photos, the physique is impressive at first glance. Wide shoulders, thick back, solid frame. But there's one detail that started dividing opinions. A specific pose caught people's attention: the front double biceps. And that's where the questions begin. The left biceps especially raised some eyebrows. A less pronounced peak, a smoother look than usual, and vascularity that seemed a bit different from his typical standard. Some pointed out it could simply be the angle, lighting, or normal off-season water retention. Others went further, speculating about frequent site injections or even the use of filling substances, something there's absolutely no concrete proof of, but that inevitably comes up when a physique looks slightly outside the expected aesthetic. One comparison that kept popping up was to Rich Piana, not in terms of proportion, but in terms of a slightly smoother visual appearance in certain areas. Obviously, completely different contexts. But when fans start making that kind of comparison, it's a sign that something visually stood out from what we're used to seeing in the current champion. What's interesting is that while the front double sparks debate, the moment Derek turns around, all doubt disappears. In older footage, his back is simply insane. Many already put his back in conversations alongside legends like Ronnie Coleman and Dorian Yates. It's a striking contrast. From the front, questions. From the back, total dominance. And that raises an important thought. Are we just looking at a temporary off-season phase? Or is there actually something here that could impact his title defense? Let me know what you think down in the comments. While the reigning champion is being analyzed inch by inch, centimeter by centimeter for the global audience, another name started getting attention for a completely different reason: silence. Nick Walker basically went into shadow mode. Very few updates, almost no recent physique shots, and then suddenly, a new mirror selfie appears. Simple. No production. No elaborate posing. But when you're 2 weeks out from a show, every single image becomes a technical breakdown. The problem is, mirror selfies don't tell the full story. Angles can make you look tighter, lighting can hide or exaggerate detail, and the waist might appear smaller than it actually is. When you really study it, it's hard to make any definitive call. Does he look good? Yes. Does he look historic? Not yet. And that's exactly where the mystery begins. Is he behind schedule? Or is he playing this perfectly? There's a theory here that actually makes sense. In the past, under Matt Jansen's guidance, Nick used a specific strategy, looking slightly off before peak week, followed by an aggressive transformation in the final 7 days. A physique that looked average a week out, only to explode on stage. If he's attempting that same protocol again, what we're seeing now could simply be part of the plan. And don't forget one key detail. The year he suffered the calf and hamstring injury, many believe that was shaping up to be his best version ever. Dense, dry, still carrying massive size. Unfortunately, we never got to see that version on stage. What we know right now is simple. He's going to show up competitive. The real question is whether we're getting just a good Nick, or finally the best version of his career. Now it's time to talk about a name that always brings expectations when the conversation shifts to the international stage: Raphael Brandeo. A recent posing video started making the rounds, and as expected, the analysis came in heavy. We're about 2 weeks out from the Arnold, and the question is unavoidable. Is he truly ready? The main talking point was his glut conditioning. They're not fully dry yet, and at the level the Arnold demands, details make all the difference. The moment a physique turns around, the judging becomes ruthless. Some people immediately took that as a sign he might be behind in prep. But is that really the case? Anyone who follows Raphael knows he has a very specific pattern. He tends to dial in extremely fast during the final stretch. The challenge is that he can also lose fullness quickly if he pushes too hard too early. And that's where the strategy comes in, getting peeled at the right time, in the right way. Not too soon, not too late. It's a surgical balance. The trend seems clear. Tighten up the conditioning without sacrificing size. Leave the final refinements for peak week. That means the physique we're seeing right now isn't necessarily the physique we'll see under stage lights. And if his track record shows anything, it's that he rarely misses when it's time to show up competitive. While some athletes are being questioned over conditioning, another name entered the discussion for a completely different reason: photo editing. Iain Valliere recently appeared weighing around 275 pounds, roughly 125 kilos for the international audience. For someone who announced his retirement just a few months ago, that's serious size. Big, full, dense. But it wasn't the weight that grabbed the most attention. What really sparked debate was his chest. In previous updates, there was a small natural gap, a visible separation between the pecs. In the new photo, that gap seems to have vanished. The chest looks completely filled in, almost too uniform. And that's when the question started: real muscle development or some kind of digital enhancement? Some suggested the possibility of AI-assisted edits. Nothing obvious or over the top, but subtle changes, smoother skin texture, more uniform fullness, that slightly too perfect look. Nothing confirmed. No hard proof. Just visual comparisons between older photos and the latest one. But in today's world, where filters and AI tools are widely accessible, the doubt naturally creeps in. At the end of the day, there's no concrete evidence of structural editing. It could simply be better lighting, a stronger pump, or a more favorable angle. But the conversation is out there. What do you think? Amid all the established names we've talked about, there's always that one athlete flying a little under the radar, but capable of blowing up on stage. Right now, that name is Andrea Muzi. While everyone debates the favorites, he's quietly bringing a physique that simply can't be ignored. What stands out the most is the overall package. Solid size, clear aesthetics, clean symmetry. It's not just mass. It's not just conditioning. It's balance. The kind of physique that holds its own in any lineup. His conditioning already looks sharp, even before the final stretch. And when someone looks like that 2 weeks out, it usually means the prep has been carefully calculated. Another key factor is completeness. There isn't one muscle group overpowering the rest, and there aren't any glaring weaknesses. Round shoulders, tight waist, classic lines, harmonious structure. It's the type of shape that, once he steps into the lineup next to the favorites, can immediately shake things up. Because on paper, favorites are one thing, but under stage lights, the story can change fast. Does he have legitimate top 3 potential? Absolutely. And more than that, if any of the favorites make even a small mistake, slightly off conditioning, unexpected water retention, or a miscalculated peak week, he could capitalize. At this level, the margins are razor thin. So the big question is, are we looking at a true dark horse ready to shock the lineup? Or does he still need to prove he can hold that level when it really counts? One thing is certain, nobody can overlook him anymore. If on stage the physique does the talking, off stage the battle can be even more intense. Hadi Choopan suddenly found himself at the center of an unexpected social media storm. His Instagram account was temporarily deactivated, and speculation quickly spread about a possible mass reporting attack. Similar situations have happened before with other top-tier athletes. Coincidence or digital retaliation? What's interesting is that the account was restored just a few hours later. That suggests it may have been an automated platform action triggered by a high volume of reports. It doesn't seem like it was voluntary. But the fact that this happened right in the middle of prep for one of the biggest stages of the year already creates instability. And at the highest level of performance, even small distractions can carry weight. The numbers made things even more dramatic. Around 1.2 million followers reportedly unfollowed him. That's a significant hit, especially considering a large portion may have come from his home country. From a public image standpoint, that's a major shift. And in modern bodybuilding, popularity and public perception also shape narrative and expectations. The big question is, how does that affect an athlete mentally? It can shake confidence, create extra pressure, generate emotional noise. But it can also have the opposite effect. It can become fuel. It can turn frustration into ruthless motivation. Great champions often respond to adversity with historic performances. And Hadi has already proven in the past that his mindset is strong. Right now, he's still seen as a favorite. But maybe he's never been under this much pressure before. While some athletes struggle to add a few quality pounds, a couple of kilos for the international audience, Samson Dauda just keeps leaving people in disbelief. In his latest update, he stepped on the scale at 350 pounds, about 159 kilos. A number that's intimidating on its own. But the most interesting part isn't the weight. It's the fact that he decided to stop there. No push to 360 or 370 pounds. No extreme experiments. He wants stability. And that changes everything. The strategy now isn't to grow more. It's to marinate. Hold that body weight, train heavy, let the body adapt, and allow the new muscle to mature. Anyone who understands prep knows that freshly built muscle doesn't have the same visual density as matured muscle. So instead of chasing bigger numbers, he appears to be betting on quality. And that's an incredibly smart move. When an athlete maintains a high body weight for an extended period, the body adjusts. The metabolism begins to treat that new level as normal. That means when it's time to diet down for the stage, there's a better chance of holding on to more muscle during the cut. It's not just about being big. It's about bringing that size to the stage. The projection is bold. If he's sitting at 350 pounds in the off-season and drops down to around 320 pounds, roughly 145 kilos, he could become one of the biggest physiques ever seen on the modern Olympia stage. And if that mass comes with sharp conditioning, the math starts getting dangerous for his competitors. Are we witnessing the construction of a new era of dominance? Because he already has the size. He already has the structure. If he aligns density, maturity, and conditioning, he could become nearly unstoppable. Do you think this strategy will turn him into the next dominant champion? Or is there still something missing from the package? With 16 days left until the Arnold, Wesley Visser showed up with a physique that simply can't be ignored. The level of detail is impressive. Delts with insane graininess, deep separations, a dry look even before the final stretch. And when a classic physique athlete looks like that this close to the stage, the message is clear. He's coming to compete, not just to show up. What stands out most are the deltoids. The density and muscle texture are rare for the division. That reignited a sensitive debate within classic physique, local oil use or not. Wesley has indirectly made it clear he doesn't go down that road. And when you see this kind of extreme detailing, the conversation naturally resurfaces. Where exactly is the line when it comes to maintaining the aesthetic integrity of the division? Another interesting point was his response to critics. Wesley mentioned channels analyzing his photos and questioning whether he's as conditioned as he was in his past championship form. He made an important point. Lighting changes everything. Photos can be deceiving. And most importantly, a bodybuilder's physique can shift dramatically in the final week. Anyone who follows the sport knows this. The look 6 days out can be completely different from stage day. And then we arrive at the rivalry heating up the division. Wesley versus Mike Sommerfeld. This debate goes beyond conditioning. It's about the philosophy of classic physique. Long, flowing lines and aesthetic structure versus a more compact, denser, more modern look. In the end, what truly represents the spirit of the division? What we do know is this battle has the potential to be one of the most intense of the entire event. If Wesley brings a complete, conditioned physique that stays true to the classic lines that made him a champion, he could very well walk away with the title. The big question is, will the Arnold reward size and impact, or true classic aesthetics? And in your opinion, who best represents classic physique today? Let me know down in the comments.